Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
Well. And tonight there appears to be a third amigo. I'm just waiting for everybody in the comments to be like, all right, who's the asshole that's going to talk?
Just so you guys are aware, he covers Ohio State. Let's try to be nice to him tonight. I'm kidding. It's TK Trent Noop, the third member of the team here. He hasn't been on one of these lives yet, so I thought it would be a good week. Perfect time with the Buckeyes coming to town to bring him on and chop it up for Fan-Led Wednesday.
It's funny. There's been a couple times where you will do like our predictions or something. I'm like, so Chris said this, and Trent said 41-10, and there'll be like 4 comments like, "Who the hell's Trent?" I'm like, guys, do you not read the article byline? His name is right on there. But no, Trent's been with us since July, so throughout the whole season. Trent, we were talking about it beforehand. This was Chris's first time seeing your man cave. I saw it a couple times when we attempted to do our gambling segment. That just didn't work out because of the timing. We tried to do it on Thursday, and there just wasn't enough. There weren't enough bets available for Saturday football games and Saturday night games. So anyway, I'm bummed out that fell apart. But I got a chance to see it before. Dude, it's wild. You're an Ohio guy. You got Magic Johnson. You got the Vikings galore. Like that's your. Is that your most fanatical team? Is it the Vikings?
No, I would have to say it's Michigan.
Okay, all right. But let's
time out. Is the soundboard off?
Oh, nope.
Par for the course here.
Nope.
Let's get that off real quick.
I don't know why that is, but I hear no echo ever. But Trent's Ohio guy, Michigan fan, obviously covering Michigan. You see Magic Johnson, that's LA. You see Minnesota, that's what the hell's going on over there?
I mean, I guess you could say you can blame my father, right? I mean, I grew up watching Minnesota and Michigan because of him. Lakers is all because I loved Kobe and Shaq growing up. The best duo to ever play the game together.
On a soapbox, too. Okay.
A controversial statement.
Okay.
No, best duo to play, hands down. No debate.
Okay. All right. Strong duo. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you have an argument there.
Okay. All right.
So going back to the Vikings, though, Randy Moss is my favorite player ever. I remember growing up, and then you had Randall Cunningham and you had Dante Culpepper just airing it out to Randy Moss for 50, 60 yards down the field. Nobody could jump like Randy Moss, and came down with everything. And I just loved watching him and stuck with the Vikings.
So
I also have vivid memories, Randy Moss on the turf, getting the ball out in space and that long stride he had. It was just impossible to catch him. I mean, there was in one quarter, I think he had 6 receptions for 150 yards or something like that and 4 touchdowns. I mean, the dude was, yeah, man. I can see you make valid reasons for why you're fans of the teams you're a fan of. And oh, by the way, you happen to reside in the state of Ohio. It's unfortunate, but you are a huge Michigan fan. You cover Michigan with us, and so hopefully the people here will give you a no. See, CJ Frazier, no, he is a Michigan man through and through. So we'll give him his due here, and I'm interested to get his take on this week and some of the things that are going on.
So I sat by Trent the last 2 seasons up in the press box when he was with another publication, and then we just kind of got, you sit by someone every single week like that, and you're just BSing back and forth, and it led to where we are now, and Trent's now part of the group, and glad to have him. He's been cranking stuff all year, which is awesome, and he knows a little bit. I'll give him some credit. He knows some stuff, despite the Vikings and despite the Lakers and all that. He's pretty good with the Michigan football stuff. We'll be good with that. So
we got Jared Johnson in the house tonight talking shit about my vertical. Look, man, listen, I'm not even going to push back against that. even in my heyday, I could get like bottom of the backboard, maybe get some net. I've never been a touch rim guy. I can't get.
Okay.
Never been able to touch rim. Even in my prime in high school and early college, could never get rim. I don't have the vertical. It's probably why God blessed me with good looks, because
some of us are just meant to stay on the ground.
I'm
definitely there now. I'm a ground guy all day. Really enjoy the ground.
How about you, Trent? You ever dunk it in your heyday?
Dude, I can't jump.
Yeah, I would have. No.
Just a handful. All right. Let it, guys, talking sports, no big deal.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. All right. So as I yelled at people on Monday to do your homework. The middle school teacher came out in me.
God damn
do your homework.
I'm getting burned tonight, left and right. Bald jokes, vertical jokes.
Wow. Is that below the belt? Nah, Chris, you've learned to roll with that. The bald.
Yeah, no, I will say this. I started losing my hair late in high school. Not going to get too far off track here, but started losing my hair late in high school. And then early college, it was like I was doing everything I could to hang on. And if there was any sort of even accusation of me being bald, I was in the tank, just hide away from the world for a while. But now, I'm nearly 40. I'm married. Yeah. I've got kids. Like, exactly, CJ. Like the bald slander, and I told Trent this earlier, bald slander will not be permitted in my presence, although it doesn't affect me like it used to.
Well, there you go. Unlike the other two fellas,
people,
I've got hair here. No, I can't do this. I got nothing. No beard action. I don't know.
Thank God I could. Yeah, because without this, like,
you just look like a giant baby.
Probably be in a gutter somewhere.
All right. So, like I said, I gave everybody a homework assignment. Come up with 3 questions for Fan-Led Wednesday. If it's anything like the middle school classes I used to have, probably nobody did it. But I hope you've got some stuff to throw at us, because as you've learned by now, we don't have segments planned for Wednesday. There's certainly plenty to talk about. We could come up with a lot of stuff. But if you have questions, Trent is a Nickelback fan, I believe. That's a great starting point.
They're okay.
Yeah, see?
They're okay.
See? I told you he knows his stuff. Dude, I feel very out of the loop with basketball, and we've talked about that before. It is that way until like December's over. Juwan Howard back on the sidelines tonight. Didn't even realize that either. So that's cool to see. And Michigan is hanging right in there against Memphis. 4 minutes to go, down by a point. All right. So that was the first question out of the gate. Does Trent like Nickelback? Is he a Nickelback fan? Thank you for that, Tony. Appreciate that. Here's a good one, Lucas. This is something Chris and I talked about earlier in the week with how we saw it looking against Maryland. I'm concerned. Will Michigan be able to stop the short passes in this game? And I mean, how big of a part is that going to be what Ohio State wants to do? Obviously, they have very talented pass catchers. I said I was pretty worried about it because even though Talia Tagovailoa threw some picks and, he wasn't awesome, there were times where it looked like the defense had no answers for him. And that freaks me out a little bit with Ohio State. Trent, as a welcome in, where do you fall on the short passing and what Michigan might look like against really, really talented receivers?
I mean, it's definitely a concern. Maryland kind of showed the blueprint on what you can do against the defense. It's definitely a concern. I'm more concerned of Marvin Harrison and the go routes. He can definitely jump. But at the same time, I think Will Johnson's will cover him when they're in man-to-man. And even though Marvin Harrison's elite, Will Johnson's really good too.
Chris,
yeah,
I don't know. I felt like I wrote this. It felt like the defense didn't have answers at times against Maryland, and if you do that against Ohio State, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the performance defensively has to be better this weekend than it was last weekend, and I think it will be. I think part of that is, you can say that you don't sort of fall into the idea of, looking ahead, but I think everybody, whether you're on the team, in the building, on the staff, the fan base, like everybody was confident Michigan was going to win that game, and what's coming the next weekend, and so I think it's easy to sort of, get caught up in that a little bit and start looking ahead. And we saw it. Will Johnson got burned a couple times. We saw that Tagovailoa was able to, to hurt Michigan through the air. But these guys are going to be locked in on Saturday. I have no question about that. Not just with how solid they are in the secondary. I think they'll do fine, but you've got guys like Mike Barrett, who's more than able to go in and help in the short passing game. And I think that defensive front from Michigan is going to make life difficult for Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord is not Tagovailoa. He's not somebody who's going to get out of the pocket, scramble, and make life difficult for Michigan because of his mobility. So I think if Michigan can get pressure up front, and I think they will, and Trent even put out an article earlier today where that Ohio State offensive line, there's some issues there. And I think Michigan's going to be able to exploit it. I think they're going to put pressure on McCord. I think it's going to force him into making some mistakes. I think there's going to be a couple turnovers from McCord on Saturday. And at the end of the day, I think the secondary is going to do just fine. So to answer your question, Lucas, yeah, I think Michigan's going to be able to keep the Buckeyes in front of them, prevent them from making big chunk plays. But I'm also going to add the caveat that I do believe Michigan's going to give up a couple big plays on Saturday. When you play an offense like Ohio State, it's damn near impossible to keep them in check all afternoon. They'll give up a couple big plays, but as long as you don't make a habit out of it all afternoon and you keep everything else in front of you, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, when you've got guys like Marvin Harrison, Ibuka, Travion Henderson out of the backfield, I mean, they're going to hit a couple. It's impossible to shut them out completely. But I do think that Michigan's going to be up to the task. There's a concern, but I don't. So to answer the question, will they stop it? Stop it's probably too harsh of a word. Keep it contained. That's I think the best you can hope for against a team with that much talent. I mean, that's just kind of how it is when you play good teams like that. Chris, I want to get your opinion on this because Trent and I are up in the booth. You're down on the field. I wonder how. There's always like this audible groan in the booth, and I wonder if it's felt the same way down on the field. How long is Fox going to drive this son of a gun out? This game, this many eyeballs, get as many commercials played as possible, rake that money in. I mean, dude, every time that guy in the red shirt steps out there, the booth is like, oh my God. I just wonder if it's the same down on the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's, among the media people on the sidelines, all the photographers, the people that are in the stands, you can feel there is same thing, an audible, just like, God damn it, collectively throughout the stadium. And, that's what, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes that you're in that break. It seems to happen often. And, it takes away from momentum and you kind of got to get yourself recentered and back into the flow of the game. And so, yeah, I'm quite certain that based on how many people are going to be watching this, I mean, I don't think there's any question this is going to be the most watched football game of the entire college football season. Like this is a championship game for the Big Ten East Division. This is easily a national championship matchup. This is number 3 versus number 2. I mean, this is as good as it gets. And the fact that it's happening in Ann Arbor, it's ironic that this was the same scenario that they walked into last year, right? Michigan number 3, Ohio State number 2, both teams undefeated. Everything feels eerily similar this year, and hoping that the result is obviously similar to what we saw.
If anyone cares, I did play this matchup last night on NC Dub.
Well, there you go, right there. I mean,
in the midst of my dynasty.
Were you playing on rookie mode or what?
Heisman all the way. And I believe it's my second or third year into the dynasty. Ohio State was number 2. I was number 3. It was in Ann Arbor. I won 56-10. I just want to put it out there. I just want to put that out there for everybody to enjoy and hope for. That's.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure we'll see that on Saturday. Ironically, it sounds like, and I don't know what yours is yet, Brandon, but it sounds like I think we're all going to be a little bit closer in points this game than we have been in probably all.
Yeah, I don't have one yet. I'll be honest. I don't have a score yet. I haven't quite jumped into like how I see it playing out, but
I do. It's very specific. The number is specific and how we get there is very specific. I feel like I've seen into the future.
Well, there you go. That will be Friday for sure. If anybody else has theirs, obviously, whatever. You can throw them up now, but we'll talk about that on Friday. Maybe Trent will be back Friday. I don't know what you got going on. We'll see. Obviously, this is a big week, a huge game, and the more the merrier when it comes to talking about it. Mr. Jared Johnson. Yeah, this is something that Chris and I talked about on Monday as well. That is what JJ is going to say. He's like, he's got that smirk, that grin. I feel great. I feel good. Rehab's been going great, but Chris has been on this for a while, more than me. I mean, again, being down on the field, I think, and seeing him go through warmups specifically and kind of how he's carrying himself. But they are saying that JJ's back to 100%, whether it's the ankle or whatever it is that was ailing him. Not meaning to skip over you again, Trent, but Chris has been on this one. Chris, do you believe him? How closely are you going to be watching JJ during pregame when you're down there shooting photos? And what do you think about that health of whatever it is, whatever foot, ankle, knee, shin, whatever it is that he's dealing with? It's something.
Yeah. Once again, just to make sure I'm not, I don't want to ruffle any feathers out there. I love JJ McCarthy, but I don't believe that's an honest statement. I don't think he's feeling the best he's ever felt. I don't think the leg, hip, knee, whatever the hell it is, I'm not so sure that it's 100% just based on how long it's been an issue. So,
deviled eggs on the menu for tomorrow.
His eggs are in bad shape. I'll just say that. No, I think it's an issue. And I think I do believe that, the treatment is, getting him as close back to 100%. But again, when you have an injury that's been lingering now for a number of weeks, and again, go back to Indiana, saw it against Penn State, saw it against Maryland. You take a hit on a bum ankle or an ankle that's not 100% the wrong way, you tweak it a little bit, and all of a sudden it becomes an issue. And so I do believe that I don't believe it's going to be 100%. And I'm really curious to see how Sharon Moore, what that game plan looks like, given what JJ McCarthy is dealing with. Are we going to see McCarthy get out of the pocket and run for first downs and lower the shoulder like we were accustomed to at one point in the season? Or is it going to be a lot of rely on Donovan Edwards, rely on Blake Corum, rely on the passing game, but you're not going to ask him to do a lot with his legs? And if that's the case, I am a little bit concerned, because that's such an important element of what JJ McCarthy brings to the table, his ability to create on the run. And then if there's nothing downfield, he can rip off 15, 20 yards really quick. If you take that element out of the equation, I think that it certainly isn't a great thing for the Michigan offense, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I will say that, I don't know if you give a little shot into the ankle so that you don't really feel anything or whatever. I'm quite confident that McCarthy would be willing to break his leg in two to get a win on Saturday. So we'll see how it all turns out.
Well, Trent, Chris and I on Monday did a 1 through, and we're going to check on Fred Paulson's question in just a minute because I like where he's going. But we did a 1 through 10 worry scale about JJ's health. I don't remember exactly what we said, but it was above 5 for both of us because we've seen it, and Chris has been on it for a while now. Trent, where would you say your worry level is 1 through 10 when it comes to JJ's health and maybe not being able to run the ball like he has at other times this year?
Well, with him saying he's healthy, he's obviously not going to go up there and be like, yeah, guys, I'm hurt. And
right.
It's a blueprint for Ohio State. But if he can't run the ball, probably a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, that's about where we were. I think I said I was at a 7 concern level.
He's so good at running, and he's a mismatch against linebackers, the edge rushers. He can do so much to help the offense. And if he's not fully healthy and he can't run the ball like last week, it's a little worrisome.
Yeah, and it's escaping too and moving. It's not just running 10 yards downfield or picking up a first down. So much of what he does that makes him a great playmaker is because of his feet. His arm's elite, but he gets to the arm because of the legs so often and breaks down, when the play breaks down and he gets out of there. So
deceptively fast, deceptively athletic. Like I feel like most people don't view JJ McCarthy as a true dual threat. And I think, outside of Denard Robinson, who was, in a world of his own when it comes to being a dual threat quarterback, I think JJ McCarthy is the closest thing that Michigan has had since Shoelace. And, again, if you take that element out of the game, I think that's going to be an issue.
He's a little stretched out and a little spindly, so you wouldn't want him taking a lot of hits. But if he was in like a true keep the ball 10, 15, 18 times a game, he'd be a monster when it comes to stats. Yeah. I just don't know if physically he could keep it up because he's not built like Denard. He's not built like some of these other guys that run the ball that much. He's just a little slight compared to those dudes.
You know what I can already tell I got to do, Brandon? I got to put the blinders on. I got to have tunnel vision tonight. I cannot see comments that piss me off and want to go straight to them. Let's stick with good questions tonight.
I'm still looking at a question from 710. I don't know where you're probably way down the list.
Doesn't matter
for that kind of a question. Relevant. Fred, great segue into this. We haven't done this one, so all three of us will tackle it. We talked about JJ being hurt, where we came at that. How worried are we about Kyle McCord just in general, 1 through 10, as a quarterback, as a play caller, as a playmaker, as a, get the ball out to these weapons? Chris, go ahead. You go first. You've also been pretty. Well, I don't know. I don't think your opinion's been any different than anybody else's, but we said it earlier in the week, and I wrote it in an article too. Even Ryan Day and his whole staff would take JJ over Kyle McCord.
There's no question.
Right.
And maybe it's a matter of me being a hater. Maybe it's the fact that it's rivalry week. Maybe it's the fact that I'm just pissed off with a lot of what's going on at Ohio State right now. But I'm at a solid 3 when it comes to Kyle McCord. I don't think he's very good. I don't think this is a guy that's going to play a single snap in the NFL. I just don't think he's a very good quarterback. I think I mentioned it to Trent the other night. This is probably the worst quarterback that Ohio State's had in the last 2 decades. And I've watched him play a number of games this year. And sure, there's times he can get the ball on target. And there's other times where he can't seem to make a simple pass for the life of him. And I have seen the Ohio State wide receivers frustrated that the ball didn't get where it was supposed to be. And so if you couple that with the fact that the Michigan defensive front's going to be aggressive, Ohio State's offensive line's probably going to give up some pressure, and I think McCord is going to be rattled. And I think when you put all those things together, yeah, can McCord get the ball out of his hands and get it in the vicinity of Marvin Harrison Jr. where he can do some damage? Absolutely. But if, in terms of will Kyle McCord be the driving force in this win? Absolutely not. That he's a solid 3 for me. And I think he's a mid quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. I mean, I could name a handful of other quarterbacks that I think are just as good.
I was going to say 4. He's pretty big and he's got a pretty big arm, but most of what happens with him is because of others. Yeah. And that's just, like you said, he's missed targets. The receivers have shown frustration. He's not been on point all the time. Ohio State's always had a very quarterback-friendly offense. That's a credit to them. That's not a knock. And you said he might be the worst quarterback they've had in 2 decades. They've had some pretty damn good ones. That's also kind of speaking to how good they've been. But I agree. He's not Dwayne Haskins. He's not CJ Stroud. He's not JT Barrett. He's not any of those guys. He's not Braxton Miller. He's not any of those guys. No. And he's not the kind of quarterback that can go and win you a game. And I think JJ absolutely is. It's been a little off the last couple weeks, but we've seen the playmaking ability, the way to fit the ball in, things he's done. I don't think Kyle McCord's holding his jock. And I said that exact line after I watched Ohio State and Penn State play. I said, Kyle McCord and Drew Aller cannot hold JJ McCarthy's jock. And that's why Michigan's going to beat both of them. One's done.
It's crazy to me. And this was, I had to look in and double check the numbers after an article that Trent put out today. But I hadn't realized that JJ McCarthy hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since October 21st.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a month of not, and look, I know they had the bye week in there, and I know you have the 32 straight runs against Penn State. And I know, listen, I know some things have happened. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm just saying you're talking about a guy who was like the Heisman front runner, the betting favorite not too long ago, who hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in over a month. And I think Trent was right in the article he put out that, yeah, Michigan might be able to rely on the run. They're not going to be able to run it 32 straight times against Ohio State. If they do, what a fucking article, and just that would be an incredible scene altogether. But at the end of the day, I think that JJ McCarthy is going to have to return back to that midseason form. They're going to have to see him be able to make some plays and make some things happen. Maybe see that connection with Roman Wilson rekindled. We haven't really seen that over the last few weeks. I think that element is going to be critical to allowing Michigan to do what they want to do in the ground game with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings and whoever else they decide to throw back there.
Unfortunately, I have noticed it because his 1 touchdown pass has been a part of my parlay, I think, every week since then. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it was really good. It was really healthy for a while there. That's why. Trent, 1 through 10, worry about Kyle McCord. I don't know if there's any. You can tell that Chris and I are used to it just being us two. We might need to give Trent the floor a little bit here. Do you have anything left to add to what the 2 blowouts have already said?
Where you at?
I would say probably a 4 or 5. I don't think he's terrible, but especially living in Ohio with all these Ohio State fans around me, they're used to elite quarterback play. They've had like you said, Justin Fields, Braxton Miller, so on and so forth. And McCord is not even close to being those guys. I mean, he's an average quarterback, maybe a little bit better than average, but primarily he has all kinds of weapons around him, and that's what it is.
Yeah. I didn't even say Justin Fields. Good Lord, he's one of the best ones of the group, highest draft pick anyway. So yeah, that's a far cry from what they're working with right now. There's no doubt about it. Phenomenal question, Sean. Is Trent Uncle T? Is Trent Uncle T? Trent?
Now's the time to come clean if you're going to do it.
I plead the fifth.
That's a good answer.
Good answer. Raymond, this is a good question because as Chris alluded to earlier, I expect this one to be closer. How do we feel about the kicking game? We haven't had to see James Turner much. In fact, I know the wind was Chris, I think you said this, the wind was doing some weird stuff at Maryland, but there were some opportunities where they could have kicked a pretty reasonable field goal, and Sharon Moore opted to go for it, in various ways. But how do you feel about the kicking game right now? Chris, again, you're down on the field watching these dudes warm up and do some stuff maybe a little closer than those in the box, and certainly people at home. Thoughts on James Turner and the kicking game?
I think it's serviceable. It's not Jake Moody. It's not what they had last year. You're not, when it came to Jake Moody, like you were perfectly comfortable. You had an elite defense on the other side. You were perfectly comfortable taking 3. You obviously want to get in the end zone, but you knew that Jake Moody could go out and get the job done. I think this year, not to say there's not as much confidence in the kicking game, but obviously Michigan hasn't turned to that part of their game nearly as often as they did last year. And yeah, at Maryland, sure, I do think wind was an issue being down on the field. It got a little bit gusty down there, which may have played into, why Sharon Moore decided to do certain things. But I'll put it this way. I don't want the game on Saturday to come down to the leg of James Turner. That I would prefer for that not to be the case. Would I feel better if it was Jake Moody? Absolutely. That's not to take away from anything that, James Turner is, but Jake Moody was, is there any dispute that he's the greatest field goal kicker in Michigan football history at this point? Right.
He got picked in the NFL in the 3rd round. That's rare.
Right. You go from that to a guy who's still pretty damn good, but it's obvious that, there's certain moments where Michigan could go for a field goal and they're opting to try to go for the first down instead. And so I don't know how much of that is, hey, we believe in our offense. We believe in our offensive line. We believe in Blake Corum versus, maybe we don't want to take our chances in the kicking game. So again, on Saturday, I would prefer not to rely on it, but if need be, I feel like James Turner's a guy who could get it done. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's, I don't know what the percentage is, but he's made more than he's missed.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason Harbaugh and them went after the guy. He's a Michigan kid. He's,
decorated guy at Louisville.
Yes.
So
Trent, worried, not worried. I mean, I think I actually like the way Chris put that. Like, if you got to pick one, or you have to pick a scenario, let's not let the game come down to him. I think I'm probably in that same camp.
No, I agree. We haven't really seen Turner kick anything super long. He's been serviceable. I know that he would go out there and kick a 45, 48 yard field goal to win the game with seconds go. I don't know. I really don't know. We haven't seen it.
Wouldn't it be incredible though? Instant Michigan fucking legend if he does that.
Absolutely. It'd be Jake Moody.
Yeah, I think if
it's Illinois.
To Chris's point, if we're sitting here right now and you said, all right, you can sign up for, not even he's going to make it, but Saturday's game, the final play will be Jake Moody kicking a 45-yarder to win. Do you
Jake
sign
Moody?
up for that? Yes.
He's back. He's back on the team.
I'm saying if you could sign up for that, would you take it?
How far is it?
45.
Is Michigan down at the time?
Michigan is down by 1. He needs to make it to win the game.
I don't know. It depends on the other what's the weather? What's the wind looking like? Like, I don't know.
I'm still taking that sledgehammer to give us a shot to win that one, right? I mean, you got to.
Yeah,
you got to. James Turner, on the other hand, no. I'm saying nope. No. Let's play it out. Let's see if it can be a different outcome than that. So point being,
4th and 8, 4th and 2. Where are we at?
It wasn't supposed to be that deep of a question. I just wanted to make a
look.
point.
It's Ohio. I'm overthinking everything over here.
But to your point, Chris, I'm with you. I'd rather it not be James Turner, sending it to either a win or a loss. So there you go. John, I love and hate this question a lot. I'm going to answer it first, and then I'm going to let the other two guys yell at me if they need to, because this is just where my mind went, and I'm going to answer it that way. Who makes a bigger impact on Saturday, Travion Henderson or Blake Corum? And I say it's Travion Henderson because he's it. Like, there's nobody else behind him. Like, he's their guy. I think Blake is going to have a fine day. I don't see it being astronomical. I just don't. But I think in order for Ohio State to even remain like afloat, Travion Henderson has to have a good day. And Mayan Williams is out for the year. There's really nobody else behind him. So if he's not good, they're going to lose by a chunk of points. That's what I think. So I think in order.
Who's the thick running back that they have? Number 19, I think he is.
Chip Trainum. I don't.
He's a problem from time to time.
I don't like him. He's a linebacker. He's a linebacker moonlighting. He wants to be Kalel Mullings. That's what he wants to be.
Yeah.
He's a linebacker moonlighting as a running back. So I just think that Travion Henderson, as crazy as it sounds, because I think JJ is going to have to be really good. I think Colson Love, I just think Michigan players are going to step up. I think Travion means more to Ohio State's success than Blake does to Michigan's.
Ooh, yeah. Do you want to go first, Trent? Because
So I think Blake Corum will make the bigger impact. However, I think if Ohio State would win the game, Travion has to make the bigger impact. Because I think McCord, like we talked about, he's a mid-average quarterback, and I don't think he's going to go put the team on his back and win the game. Like, they're going to have to establish the run if they're going to beat Michigan, and that falls on Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, a couple reasons. I'm not a big believer in the Ohio State offensive line, so that's a part of it. But look, man, when it comes to Blake Corum, you're talking about a guy who, he played in 2021, but it was limited. He was dealing with an injury. He went one series, I think maybe even 2 plays into the first series before he realized he couldn't go in 2022. This is the first opportunity that Blake Corum, who, by the way, is, you talk about guys like Mike Sainristil and some of the other guys that mean a lot to this program. Blake Corum is a Michigan football legend for who he is on the field, who he is off the field. I mean, he's the complete package. It's his first opportunity to play against Ohio State, fully healthy. He gets to do it in Michigan Stadium. He gets to do it on his birthday. And he talked about during the press conference on Monday, all the emotion that he's going to feel walking into that stadium, walking down the tunnel for the last time, wearing that uniform in Michigan Stadium. I don't think there's a guy. I think they're all going to be dialed in, but I don't know that anybody's going to be more dialed in and eager for the opportunity than Blake Corum. The dude is an absolute fucking animal. I think he takes over this game, has one of his biggest games of the season. And I think Michigan's going to need that from him, particularly if JJ's dealing with whatever he's dealing with. I think the offensive line is due for a big game. I think Blake Corum's due for a big game. I think you get a good little chunk out of Donovan Edwards. But for me, I'm going to put my money on number 2 every day of the week if that question is asked.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blake's going to have a good day. I just think they're going to have to go to Travion a lot. Like, I guess maybe I could have asked, what does bigger impact mean? Just a better statistical day? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Travion Henderson has more rushing yards, but it doesn't equate into a win. I mean, what do you mean by impact? Maybe I should have done that first, because I feel like he's going to be used more and therefore have maybe better numbers or more rushing yards or something. But at the end of the day, that's not what matters.
And let me point out, we have James Corum in the house, Blake's father, watching the show. I got the opportunity to chop it up with him a little bit before the Maryland game. Anytime I get to see him, it's always he's just a real likable dude. Obviously, he raised an incredible young man. I mean, the guy goes and plays a game on Saturday, and then Sunday he's back in Ipsy handing out turkeys. Yeah. Up December 9th, he's got, he's doing the toy drive, which I can't wait to get out there and be a part of it. Just a Michigan man through and through. We're very fortunate that he chose to come here, and I think Saturday is going to be the culmination of a lot of years of hard work that he's put in. And again, I put my money on number 2.
Mr. James Corum, friend of the show. He's here all the time. He's always in here, always quick to say hello when you see him out in person. Yeah, great dude, great family. Apple did not fall too far from the tree right over there. So yeah, it's always cool to have him in here. This is a good question. I don't know if I've really thought of it this way before, but I definitely have had some thoughts about, because Sharon Moore said something this week on Monday about how just trying to make sure we were doing things like Jim would, or so he said something along those lines. And it made me wonder, when he's out there coaching and making decisions, is he doing what he would do, or is he doing what he thinks Jim would do? And if I'm sure they align in a lot of ways, but nobody's going to have the exact same views on everything when it comes to stuff like this. So, Trevor, thank you for the question. Chris, take it first. Do you feel like Sharon Moore is coaching not to lose, other than being all over the throttle and trying to, be a killer out there?
Nah, I'm gonna give Moore a little more credit than that. I think that he is, you're talking about somebody who's already been the offensive coordinator. So yeah, he's taking on some additional responsibilities, but I don't all of a sudden think he's deciding to change the entire offense based on the fact that he's acting head coach. I think that you get into certain games, and I talked about this after the Penn State game. I think you get into certain games, you start to feel it out. It's like a boxing match. Not everyone is going to be the same. Not every opponent's going to be the same. They're not all going to require the same type of fight. And if you know you can win on the ground, if you know you can win it 32 straight times, then that's what you do. If you know you got to air it out a little bit more, then that's what you do. So I think Sharon Moore has actually done a phenomenal job stepping in for Jim Harbaugh, who is talked about this before. He's not Tom Allen. He's not Harlan Barnett. He is Nick Saban. He is Kirby Smart. When you lose a guy at that level, it's a big deal. And I think Sharon Moore stepped in. He's done a phenomenal job. He's coached Michigan to 2 massive wins, 3 if you count the win against Bowling Green. And now he goes into Saturday with his biggest coaching opportunity of his career, with the best team, arguably, that Michigan has ever had in the Harbaugh era. I think he's ready. I don't think he's coaching not to lose. I think he's coaching to the opponent and knows what it's going to take to win. And the results speak to that.
Trent, I want to ask you in a slightly different way. I know you're not inside Sharon Moore's head. None of us are. We don't know exactly what he's thinking or his approach is here. But do you think he is coaching exactly how he would if this was his program from the beginning of time? Is he trying to be as close to Jim Harbaugh as he can? Is he trying to build a resume knowing he might be a head coach somewhere else next year? Chris and I have talked about that for weeks now. Like, what do you think he's got so much going on in his brain right now for this type of game, the magnitude of this one? Like, what do you think he's thinking about on a minute-to-minute basis as Saturday approaches?
Man, I couldn't imagine being Sharon Moore right now. Like, you're the offensive line coach, you're the offensive coordinator, and then boom, you're now the head coach for 3 games of Michigan. And you had Penn State, you had Maryland, you had Ohio State left on the schedule. Like, those are 3 big games, especially the Penn State and the Ohio State game.
The biggest stretch of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
By far, yes.
But I mean, I feel like he's doing a really good job. I feel like, so going back to the Penn State game, he called, I think it was 32 consecutive run plays.
Yeah.
But he knew that Penn State couldn't move the ball on the Michigan defense. And hey, get your yards, slow down or get the clock as close to 0 as possible and get out with the victory. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I've thought so many times since, would Harbaugh have done that 32 times in a row? Like, that's wild. You almost have to think like, no,
what
that's
they do against Washington in 2021.
Yeah, was it similar to that?
I don't think it was that many times in a row, but I mean, they ran the ball a ton.
But maybe, you know what? Maybe that answers your question when you're saying, okay, is Sharon Moore coaching his game or coaching to what he thinks Harbaugh would do? Sure, 32 straight times. I'm not so sure that Jim Harbaugh would have done that, but Sharon Moore did. And so I think that's evidence to, look, he understands what Jim Harbaugh has built, what he wants to do and what the philosophy is. But I'm quite certain that Sharon Moore is aware and that Jim Harbaugh has conveyed, like, look, you're the head coach. You need to go out and make these decisions. And Sharon Moore is going to make whatever decision he feels is best in that moment in time. And so, yeah, I think Sharon Moore's coaching to win. I think he's doing whatever he thinks is best for the team. We've seen him go for it on 4th down multiple occasions. I think he went for it like on a 4th and 8 against Maryland. Maybe a couple times it was 4th and long. I have all the confidence in the world. And even when, I don't know if you noticed this, Brandon, but on Monday, when Sharon Moore came out to the press conference and people were asking, like, hey, are you prepared? Are you this? Are you that? Like, every time Sharon Moore answered a question, he had like a smirk on his face.
He always does that.
It It was almost like he knew, yeah, we're going to fucking win this game. Just sit back, stop worrying, watch it all play out. He gave off that impression. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but that's the impression he gave off to me, so I like it.
He almost could have.
Say Michigan wins on Saturday. What does Sharon Moore's offers look like next season?
I
mean, he's 4-0 as a head coach.
Plenty.
Beat Ohio State, beat Penn State.
We've talked. Brandon and I have talked about it. He will be a head coach next year. Whether or not that's at the University of Michigan or somewhere else, I think remains to be seen. I think there's a lot up in the air. I mean, hell, you had, Urban Meyer, which again, take whatever he says, put as much substance to that as you want. But he was, I don't know what it was on. Was he with Colin Cowherd? And he basically said if this whole thing goes as deep as I've been told it goes, that I wouldn't be surprised if Jim doesn't coach a single game next year. So you've got this sort of thing playing out in the media. Whether or not that's how it actually plays out remains to be seen. But sure, I think if Jim Harbaugh is facing a significant suspension from the NCAA going into next year, and you're Sharon Moore and you're kind of looking at your coaching options, and it's like, well, I could leave or I could coach Michigan for half a year, an entire year. Like, I don't know what's the better fit there. I mean, it's hard to imagine finding a better fit than the University of Michigan. You're talking about a premier program, a program that has been in the playoff hunt, in the national championship hunt the last 2 years. And with the expansion next year, I mean, we talked about that before. Like, the outcome of this game isn't going to mean nearly as much next year as it's going to mean this year. So presumably Michigan's going to be in the playoff picture for years to come. And this is just a great spot to coach if you can get in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a typical first head coaching job. Put it that way. Like, your first head coaching job is not usually at Michigan. I mean, I remember saying that when Juwan Howard got hired. I'm like, love the guy, love him. I'm not sure he should get that opportunity. And that's just because it's a big, big job for that to be your first head coaching job. But Sharon Moore, now to Trent's point, he would be 4-0 at that place with two of the biggest wins of the season. And whoever knows what goes on beyond that. And he's been an OC, and he's got the Joe Moore Award wins. I mean, his resume is impeccable at this point. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, there's a chance that he will there's a high chance that he'll be head coach somewhere. And if it was at Michigan, probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I mean, just based on what's gone on so far. Chris, I think you had a post somewhere, either on Facebook or Instagram. I remember seeing it. And Brendan Nelson is speaking to it, and Jared Johnson is speaking to it. Yes. Fans are going to have a role in this game. I think you said job number one, be really, really loud, and like that was it. Where's the? I mean, I know where it's coming from, but why do you think the need or to post that to emphasize it, to be so all over that this week?
You know why? Here's why. Because I'm not going to be filtered.
And is it even possible? Because we know the reputation. That's part of where this is coming from.
Yeah. I'm going to turn off the filter for this, and I'm just going to say what I'm thinking here.
Oh boy.
I am fucking beside myself that Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sideline, and that rat Ryan Day is going to walk down the tunnel, and he's going to be able to waltz down the sideline and be there with his team on Saturday. And I feel like all 110,000 fans in that stadium need to make it very clear how they feel about that program, how they feel about that head coach, and they need to make it as difficult as they possibly can all afternoon. I get, sure, you want to wear maize, wear maize. You want to do the pom-poms, do the pom-poms. But to me, and Sharon Moore reemphasized it earlier on Twitter, this needs to be the loudest, most aggressive the Michigan football crowd has ever been. And I don't really think, like, that's him. Like, this guy gets to be in Michigan Stadium, but Jim Harbaugh can't. Which, by the way, leads. Listen, I don't want to go down conspiracy theory alley too much, but it does seem over the last few days that there's a lot of smoke building around that Ohio State program and some things that they may have been doing. What Ryan Day's involvement might be. Wow. Is it possible at this point for the University of Michigan to say, look, hey, we don't know what's going on. We're going to start an investigation. In the meantime, we're going to file a restraining order against Ryan Day that would prevent him from being able to step premises on the campus so that he can't even show up on Saturday? I mean, can Michigan take that step? That's where I'm at. Like, I just feel like it's so goddamn unfair that he's going to be in Michigan Stadium and Jim Harbaugh is not going to be there to me, it just feels like an absolute travesty. So at the end of the day, if you're going to be without Jim Harbaugh, I think that crowd, and I think they will, 110,000 people all afternoon, letting Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes know exactly how they feel. You should leave that stadium with no voice. You should sound like I sounded in Arizona last year. Like, who's that singer?
Or how? No,
who is he? Skies of blue.
It's Louis Armstrong, but you quoted Louis Anderson is what happened.
Everybody needs to sound like Louis Anderson when they leave that stadium.
Louis Armstrong is the
We beat their ass. That would be Louis Anderson. What a win.
Anyway,
you guys were both in the booth in 2021, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So Brandon, you're in the booth every week with me. You can't really hear the crowd a whole lot.
No, you can't. It's weird.
That day though, 2021, like we could hear the crowd. It was loud in that stadium.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, where my question came from again was, Michigan's got the reputation of like, down in front, the old blue hairs, this, that, and the other. But at times it's pretty live, and this Saturday needs to be unhinged. It needs to be unhinged in that place.
But that's the thing. Like, it doesn't, like, I know the whole standing sitting thing is an issue at Michigan Stadium. Fine. It doesn't matter if you're 90. It doesn't matter if you're 19. Everybody's bringing vocal cords to the stadium. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. Just scream and be as loud as you possibly can. Be as disruptive as you possibly can. I mean, call it a noise out. Like, forget a maze out. Forget a blue out. Like, it's a noise out. It's a loud out. Just be loud and disruptive. And I think it would be great to see Michigan Stadium, because we've talked about this before. I don't think we've ever seen what Michigan Stadium is fully capable of with 110. Saw it against that first night game, with Notre Dame in the house and kind of how electric that atmosphere was. Jake Butt said that was single-handedly the game that brought him to Ann Arbor, like could feel the vibration in his bones. I feel like that's what Michigan Stadium needs to bring on Saturday, because I agree with Jared Johnson. The fans, 110,000 people, they're certainly going to play a role in that game. They're going to have an impact on how it turns out.
Chris is about to get an email from the non-vocal cord community who he just totally disregarded.
Listen, I have a disease where I can only speak like this.
You never know these days, dude. If there's two people out there, they'll find you.
I don't give a shit.
They will find. This is a good question. I mean, obviously, I don't study what Ohio State does. I don't know, what they do on a game-to-game basis or how they're going to change things up. But guys, we know that Michigan loves to rotate the bigs up front. They got 8 guys that they trust completely that can all make plays. Do we see Ohio State trying to go tempo, hurry up a little bit, trying to keep those D linemen out on the field rather than rotating in and out? I think, we've seen teams do it before. Less capable teams have given. It's been a little. I don't remember it this season, but I know for sure the last 2 seasons there were some times where Michigan would get caught in the middle of a substitution or not quite be ready. I think even back to like the Michigan State game that they lost in 2021, the Spartans were able to pull that off a few times here and there. So it is something that we've seen before. I don't recall it happening this year. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really remember a team like going tempo and having Michigan kind of get out of sorts this year at all. But I mean, it makes sense. That's what any team would do. If the other team relies heavily on rotating the D linemen, you don't sub and you go fast and you try to get them stuck. Now, I feel like Ohio State changes their personnel packages quite a bit. So whenever they do that, Michigan's got a chance to do it too. I don't know how big of an impact that we'll see, but so short answer, I'll say yes. I think they should try to do that because Michigan is really good up front.
Didn't we see Maryland go a little tempo last week?
I mean, everybody does it a little, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it give Michigan a problem, really, to my knowledge.
Yeah, no, I do think Ohio State's going to try to do it. They're going to try to do whatever they can do. I mean, if they can huddle up and if they can take their time and that's working, and you can take time off the clock and keep the Michigan offense off the field, and we know that with the new clock rules, your offensive possessions are limited. So I think if you can do that, Ohio State, you're going to be perfectly fine with doing that. But if you need to get Michigan out of sorts and you need to run a hurry up style offense, I think they're going to do that. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those things where you get into the game, you figure out what the flow is. And if that's how Ohio State chooses to respond, probably going to see some of that out of Michigan as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try it. Is that something that Ohio State does a lot? Do they run a lot of tempo now with McCord? Like, I know obviously with Fields and those other quarterbacks they did, but I don't
Is
know if it's
McCord
something
capable of running tempo? Does he have a tempo?
I don't think so.
It doesn't. It's certainly not part of their DNA. They're not known as like go fast, go fast. They do a lot of check with me. They do a lot of looking over at the line. But every team
and throw it to Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's not a bad approach. But I mean, every team can build that in. But how often they'll be able to do it, how effective it will be, I don't know. But I think, yeah, if you look at Michigan, you say, damn, they got 8 guys up there, and they only run them 2 or 3 plays at a time. You try to neutralize that any way you can. And I mean, you can hate Ohio State all you want. We all do. They do know football a little bit there. So they'll be trying things. This is not an on-field question, but it is a good one. And it's one that I've been curious about. We've seen a lot of different opinions. How are people going to react to the game day crew? Is it going to be a ton of anti-game day signs, which I think would be better than not going?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that it's not packed. There's just too many people that want to be there. But I think you could make some pretty big statements with what signs are behind those dudes.
Well, I will say they've got the game day set up over at Ferry Field, which I think is a bit of a walk over to Michigan Stadium. But in any event, yeah, they're going to have plenty of fans out there. It's going to be packed. This idea of boycotting it and there's going to be nobody there, I don't see that being a reality. But like I said on the last show, you better have the sensors ready to be able to blur out signs that people are going to have in the crowd, because again, just as I would expect 110,000 to make their thoughts known about Ryan Day, I would expect there's going to be thousands of Michigan fans that are eager to make their way over to that College game day set and let their thoughts be known about how they feel about the ESPN network and the coverage that they've had over the last several weeks about the Michigan football program. Reese Davis, guilty. Pat McAfee, guilty. Pine Fallbaum, Paul Feinbaum, whatever his hell his name is. If he shows up, I don't think he's going to show up. Is Pete Thamel going to be in Ann Arbor? Do you think he shows up? You think so?
He's going to.
You think Pete Thamel shows up in Ann Arbor?
Yeah. Adam Rittenberg's already been there. Like the whole gang.
I don't think Pete Thamel's going to be there. Do you think he'll show?
100%. I think he'll be there.
Dude, it's the biggest game of the year. These guys are going to be. Yeah. I mean, where else is he going to go? On that's
Purdue and Indiana. That's
reporting from Ohio State's locker room.
Yeah,
sanctuary.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know. I don't know. We haven't discussed this yet, but the 3 of us arrived to the games together. We think at like 6 a.m., 5:30. We get there on Saturday. I know we've. You just want to be there. That's why I don't think there's no way it's going to be empty at game day. Too many people are going to be fired up to just be seen and be there and do the thing. But I do think that it's going to be a lot of ESPN workers going around attempting to confiscate signs. I think that's going to be the busiest they've ever been. I think
Thamel's going to be reporting from inside of Ryan Day's sweater vest.
He pops his head out. Ryan,
Michigan's in big trouble from what I've heard.
I don't, Chris, you brought this up a while ago. I've seen it thrown around out there on social media. And it's a very possible outcome. If Michigan wins this game and then wins the Big Ten championship, the Tony Petitti, Jim Harbaugh moment, he's got to be there. He's the commissioner of the Big Ten. There's no way he's not.
Restraining order on him as well, so he can't be in Indy when Michigan plays. Restraining orders against everybody.
But what's that like? What's that? I mean, we're getting out in front of the skis a little bit, but the hell with it. It's fun to think about.
Because whoever wins this game is going to win the Big Ten championship.
For sure.
Like, you're going to go and play Iowa, who can, they barely score 10 points a game.
Right.
Whoever wins this game is going to win the Big Ten championship. And if it's Michigan,
isn't Cooper DeJean done for the year too? Like, he scores more touchdowns than their offense, and now he's done too. So yeah, that's bad. So yeah.
So I mean, you're going to have a scenario where Michigan wins their 3rd straight Big Ten championship, and Jim Harbaugh is on the stage, and Tony Petitti hands him that trophy. And I just, given everything that's gone on and the decision the Big Ten made, I just think it's going to be such a surreal moment for everybody watching it on TV, for everybody on that stage, for everybody covering it. This was a guy who took away the game against Penn State. He took away being there for win number 1,000. He took away Ohio State. And in a matter of, days, he's potentially going to have to hand over the conference trophy to Jim Harbaugh, which would just be the perfect ending to this saga. And then Michigan moving on to competing for a national championship.
Could we see like all 12 Harbaugh children just pounding Petiti into a pulp on the stage for what they robbed their father of?
I'm just
trying to think at this point.
He shouldn't even be on the stage, to be honest. Like, let Joel Klatt hand it over. Let somebody else hand it over. Like, the idea that Petiti would walk up on that stage and try to say something, because, the commissioner usually says something about congratulations to this and that. Bullshit. You've done everything you could to throw a wrench into this program, and the idea that they would be there. Like, I just don't see a scenario where he should even be allowed to hand over that trophy. But if he does, as somebody who's a photographer and will be down on this, I would love to get a photo of it, because I think it would be, Tony Petrosky mentioned it in the comments. That's one that you frame, you blow it up, you frame, you put it on the wall. That's going to mean something.
It's going to be hanging right back there behind that Culpepper jersey.
Right there. Yeah.
How badly does he want Ohio State to win this weekend?
Oh,
that does
my
not
God.
happen.
I mean, it's like anything else, like if you had to, I can either hand the trophy to a guy I just suspended for 3 games and probably hates the shit out of me, or I can hand it to Ryan Day, who's probably a big fan of Tony Petiti at the moment. I'm sure he's not going to say it, but I'm sure Petiti's rooting for the Buckeyes. There's no doubt.
They've probably got each other on speed dial at this point,
Right.
Ryan Day and Tony Petiti. I mean, dude, I was, to answer your question, Trent, a little bit more than he wanted Penn State to beat him a couple weekends ago.
Yeah.
Like, he was hoping it was going to happen there, and it didn't. And so now all the eggs are in the Ohio State basket. So we'll see.
The biggest Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State fan there is.
Yeah.
No doubt. Ron, I love this question, and I had not thought about it this way yet. And I don't have my score prediction in hand yet. Chris said you do if you want to say it or not, whatever. That's cool. But would it change if Jim Harbaugh was on the sidelines? Is your Sharon score different than your Jim Harbaugh score?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a very thought-provoking question. Chris, why? I mean, you said that pretty confidently.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if Alabama goes out and plays without Nick Saban, if Georgia goes out and plays without Kirby Smart, I think, and the players have talked about it. JJ McCarthy, there was an adjustment period not having Jim Harbaugh there. I mean, and we talked about it when Jim, there's so many examples. When Jim first took the job at Michigan, ripping off his coat on the sidelines, throwing his clipboard, Sharon Moore talking about how he doesn't talk to the refs the same way Jim Harbaugh does. Like, there is an energy that's infectious among the team in a phenomenal way when Harbaugh is there on the sidelines. And when you don't have that, you've got to try to make up for it in other ways. And so if Jim Harbaugh was on the sideline with everything else that's going on, yeah, I'd probably change. Let me think. I probably add another 10 points in favor of Michigan based on what my current score prediction is at. So yeah, I think it's worth at least 10 points in Michigan's favor. How about you, Trent? What do you stand on?
I agree. If Jim was there, I have it fairly close right now, but it would definitely, the margin would be a little wider.
What do you think his presence is worth in terms of points?
I like what you just said about 10. I mean, 7 to 10 probably. I think that's a great number.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but to hear it doesn't sound crazy. Maybe it's because I just have faith in the team and the leaders on the field and Sharon Moore also. That's a lot though. That's a lot. I feel like
what CJ Frazier is saying is kind of where I'm at. JJ McCarthy is a different, and this is not to take away anything from Sharon Moore because I think he's great. But Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback who played at the University of Michigan, who played in the NFL. He knows the position well. JJ seems to be a different quarterback when Jim Harbaugh is on the sidelines. And so I think that's probably where the biggest difference comes from. Maybe you get another touchdown pass from JJ that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So yeah, I think it means a lot. I think it would certainly change my score prediction. I would increase it by 7 to 10 points. And it's part of the reason why I'm predicting this to be a much closer game than I thought it was going to be when we were going into the season. I mean, going into the season, I was convinced it was going to be more of what we saw the previous 2 years for a couple reasons. One, Ohio State is worse. Two, Michigan is better. So when you look at those two things, I thought it was another 20-plus point win coming for Michigan at home. But now you have all the other extenuating circumstances happening outside of the program. Now you're down a couple of staff members. You're down Jim Harbaugh. And, you got maybe some lingering injuries out there. The game's going to be a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be.
This is something that's been talked about for years and years and years. And I think Chris and I we've addressed it before. I might think a little differently about it now, but it's a concept that comes up every single year. And a lot of people have asked, so I'm going to throw it up. Do we think that Michigan is holding back for this game? Is that a thing? Maybe not a secret playbook, but you just, something they didn't want to put on film necessarily. And so they have a little rabbit in the hat that they're going to bust out this week. I think there's some of that. I don't think it's like some secret chapter of the playbook, but I do think there's wrinkles that you don't use until you have to, but I don't think it goes that deep to where it's like a brand new look, that it's like almost like a new team. And not that Samuel is suggesting that, but I do think some people think like they literally have a whole set of plays they've never called before. I don't think it's quite that deep.
I'll let you go first, Trent.
No, yeah, I mean, I think they're holding back a little bit. They're not going to empty their whole playbook before the biggest game of the year. So I'm trying to think, back in 2021, there was a play with AJ Henning that he took to the house. That was, I think, something different that we hadn't seen before. I mean, every year, I think we'll see 1 to 2 different type of plays that we haven't seen all season because it's Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, I subscribe to the idea that there's a handful of plays that I think we're going to see from Michigan that you probably haven't seen throughout the course of the year. But the idea that, there's some people that believe that the Michigan offense is just going to look vastly different from what it's looked the first 11 weeks. I don't subscribe to that idea. So sure, a couple of wrinkles here and there, maybe like a flea flicker, maybe Donovan Edwards. We haven't seen him a lot in the running game. Maybe we see him throw a 70-yard pass to Roman Wilson, which wouldn't be the first time we've seen that happen. I think that they're going to have something ready for Ohio State, but the base of what they do, I think, is going to be consistent with what they've done all year, which is try to win in the trenches, try to establish the running game, use JJ McCarthy when you need him. And then if you need to throw a wrinkle in here and there to maybe try to widen the gap, you do that. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to see too much of a difference from what we've seen all season long. I don't think we're going to see 32 straight run plays. So I think, to Trent's article earlier this afternoon, which people should read because that's a good article. I think a lot of people base their assumptions on the title and, kind of get caught up in what they think based on a title. Read the article. It's a good article. JJ McCarthy is a great quarterback. This is a guy who was considered to be the Heisman betting favorite not too long ago. It's fair to expect a guy like that to step up in a game like this and have a major contribution. To think anything less of him, I think is doing a disservice to who he is as a quarterback and what he's capable of.
Yeah, I mean, this to your point, Chris, to how JJ is going to be used, or if the play is going to look a lot different, or if they're going to bust out a bunch of this different stuff. And you said it, Michigan's going to want to do what they do, and I think I have this number right. I think I heard Colin Cowherd say it earlier today, and I think I saw someone in the comments say it. The team that's rushed for more yards has won this game. Is it 21 times in a row? Did you guys hear that as well?
Yeah, I saw that today.
Yeah, I think Jake Butt put something out like that. Whoever's won the rushing yard battle has won the game 21 times in a row. So Michigan's
not going to deviate, and that's eventually that streak will end, and maybe it's this weekend. I don't know, but to the point is what Chris said. It's not going to be 50 new plays we haven't seen before. I think actually Trevor, a commenter from the Facebook page, is saying a lot of the same things we're saying. Not going to be 50 plays we haven't seen before. It's situational. Yeah, there's down and distance. There's game flow. What's the weather look like? Where are they at on the field? I mean, all those things come into play, but Michigan believes in what they do. Like they have an identity and they're going to want to stick to it. And again, way back to one of the first topics we had, JJ's health. Where is it really? What does that do to the play calling? What are you asking him to do on a down in, down out basis? And you got 2-7 back there, and they're damn good. And we know they're good. And Ohio State knows they're good. And the O-line is good. So I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what it looks like. And I do think that Michigan will for the most part, keep to what they do, and you'll see a wrinkle here, like Trent said, the jet sweep to AJ Henning or a flea flicker or Donovan Edwards throwing a pass. Like those things are all in there, but it's not something they need to break out every week.
It's really hard for me to put into words how badly I need Michigan to win this game. They have to win this game on Saturday.
I know, man.
Every time these two programs get together, it's must win. But I can't think of another time in recent history where it has felt this way, where like you absolutely have to. I don't care. I want them to win a national championship. I don't give a shit what happens beyond this game. If they win the Big Ten, if they win it all, great. That's icing on the cake. Have to win this game. Have to sell out and do whatever you got to do to win this game. For a number of reasons. I'm not going to go back into them, but we all know what's been going on with the program. We all know what's going on out there. You got to win this game. This would be such an incredible win, not just for what it means to the rivalry, but the guys that are playing in their last game at Michigan Stadium, Mike Barrett. I mean, the all-time, he's got more wins than any other Wolverine in Michigan football history. He's got 57 career wins.
Awesome.
When you think about it and you break down the numbers, you just don't see shit like that nowadays. 57 career wins, going for number 58 this weekend. Mike Sainristil, Blake Corum, Trevor Keegan, Zach Zinner, all of these veterans, Chris Jenkins. I just can't imagine a scenario where they go out with a L to Ohio State in their own building. I just don't see it happening, man. Michigan's got to win this game.
I mean, purer words have never been said. I mean, you got to get it, dude.
You have to win this.
It's so big.
Yeah,
it's so big. It is. Damn it! I just lost the question that I wanted to ask, and now I think it's because it went down to the bottom. Anyway, I know what it was. I'm just not going to be able to give the person credit, and I feel bad about that. Oh, there it is. There it is. Chris DeBoer. Will Blake Corum break the touchdown record? He's inching ever closer to it. He's got, what is it? He's got 51 now.
Yeah.
And what is, and he needs 55. Is that
55?
Yeah.
Well,
a win this weekend will certainly have a major factor in that. You know, you win this weekend, you're guaranteeing yourself, at least in my opinion, 2 more games after that. You know, you're going to have the Big Ten championship and then the college football playoff semifinal, possibly another game on top of that. And so, yeah, if they win this weekend, I think he gets it. If not, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But
buddy of mine, there's the predicted stat line: 24 totes for 91 and 3 touchdowns.
What do you think?
Pretty damn close.
What do you think if that is the stat line? What do you think that means for Michigan?
That's a win.
That's big.
That's a win. Yes, yeah. I mean that you're starting to get into the. I mean you're and then if Donovan's pretty good too, then you basically got the Hassan Haskins 5 touchdown day. I mean, is there another day like that in a back? I mean, could we see that shit again? That's, if you think back to how crazy that sounds, it's wild. What a day for Haskins on that day 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is going to have to score more than 24 points to win this game. And I just don't think the Michigan defense is going to give that up. So that's look,
it's from a while ago now, but that's still badass.
I saw that comment earlier. Mr. Corum knows. He knows what his son's going to do on Saturday.
Awesome.
We all know what his son's going to do on Saturday. He's going to finish that game 2 or 3 touchdowns, leading Michigan to a victory, blood dripping down his face once again, victorious in the big house one last time. Like, that's how this story is supposed to go. I believe that's how it's going to turn out.
For the record, do what you want with this. The first touchdown of the game in my game on NC Dub, 37-yard pass to Blake Corum. Pass.
37-yard pass.
The linebackers fell asleep.
Maybe that's all
alone.
Maybe that's the wrinkle.
He was all alone. Easy pitch and catch for JJ and Blake. Yeah, I wouldn't put money on a passing touchdown being Blake's first score, but I could see him getting into the end zone multiple times.
I don't care how they do it. They gotta score first. I'd like to see him defer, give it to Ohio State to start the game, stop him on downs, take the ball back, score a touchdown, and then from there on out, it's a long day for the Buckeyes. Got to score first, though.
Dude, it's such a resilient group, though. I'm not even.
You remember how it felt last year?
That's what I was going to say.
First,
that's what I was going to say. To your point, Chris. I mean, yes, you're the home team. You've got momentum. You put points on the board first. I'm not panicking if Michigan doesn't. I'm fine with it actually because they let it happen last year in Columbus.
I'm not panicking, but I'm not excited about that.
I was just gonna bring that up. Do you remember? I was actually on the sideline still at that point. You and I were standing down there. And Ohio State went right down the field and scored, and I was like, "Oh man, that's just." And that team bowed up, man, bowed up for the whole rest of the day.
It had that feeling.
Yeah, it did. But big plays, timely plays, good play. On defense, on offense. Obviously, Donovan Edwards at the end. Too much for Ohio State, and I think we're going to see something similar to that on Saturday. I certainly hope so.
I think if Corum, if he rushes for 91 yards and 3 touchdowns, they're going to win big.
Yeah. Because you got to believe you can count on 1 or 2 out of the passing game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that would mean Michigan putting up, you put up 4 or 5 touchdowns on Saturday, add a field goal here and there. You're good.
Well, we're at an hour and 10 minutes. I'm getting closer to the current time now. It's a lot of comments, not so many questions anymore. If anybody has anything now here last minute that's super important, throw it in there.
2 more good questions. Let's take 2 more good questions.
Let's
Ohio State week. Here. You got to have something.
While we're waiting, did you guys see Denzel Burke guaranteed a victory against Michigan?
I did see that. Was he the same guy that was asked, what stands out about Michigan on film?
Yeah,
he said nothing.
He said nothing.
Cool. Oh. Cool. Didn't we see him on a couple highlight reels last year? Right?
I don't know if it was him.
No, that was him. Yeah.
Oh, it was him. Yeah. On the wrong side of a highlight reel.
I know the kid from Muskegon is still hot to the touch. He got burnt so bad a couple of times.
Yeah.
I mean, he was well, actually I was going to say the kid from Muskegon, I don't think you did see him because he wasn't even in frame. I mean, he's 20 yards trailing.
That's the one who got burned by Cornelius?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't think that's what you want to do. I don't think this is the team to talk about throughout the week. Well,
for a game like this, you don't need to add any bulletin board material, and Michigan knows exactly what he said.
Didn't go well for the dude at Purdue. His name is escaping me right now. Is it Ryan Walters? Is that his name?
Oh, the head coach. Yeah.
Didn't go well for him. Didn't go well for Manny Diaz. I just don't think that's what you want to do, man. I don't think that's. I'm not even going to put it up there. Bryce Pencoto. I love your comment. I'm not putting it out there because there might be a Buckeye in here who's going to steal that idea, and I love it that much. That's what I'll put it up there.
There are some Buckeyes in the house.
Samaj Morgan reverse pass, bro.
Listen.
Whoa.
If there is an X factor like we've seen, an AJ Henning type deal like Trent referenced in 2021, I would not be surprised if we saw Samaj Morgan get in the end zone. It'd be incredible.
Yeah, that dude's been clutch, man. He's been clutch.
Dude,
Chris Fields.
He's somebody to look forward to in years to come.
Yeah.
Talk about everything that Michigan's losing. You got Samaj Morgan coming back for sure. That's a guy to be excited about, no doubt.
Chris Fields, thank you for that, man. That's a large donation. We appreciate you. You're confident. 30 years, uncomfortability, it came with it. The rivalry wasn't much of one. You and me both. I picked Michigan to lose both of these last 2 games. I might do it again. I might do it again just to keep it rolling. I might do it again just to keep it rolling. But
I just want to be on record as saying I picked them to win both years.
Well, blind squirrels find nuts. I'm just kidding. They were.
This blind squirrel keeps finding a nut every day.
I'd like to see how many times the 18 games prior to that you also picked Michigan to win.
I wasn't covering the team. I was just fucking rooting at that point.
Hey, in fact, Chris and I
I've been wrong.
We've never covered a Michigan loss against Ohio State.
You guys are like JJ.
All Trent and I know is beating Ohio State, winning conference championships, and going to the playoff. That's all we know. I don't expect it to change this year.
See, that's where we're very different. My first year on the beat was Brady Hoke's last year. I was beaten down. I was damaged goods.
Yeah.
We talk about that with the Lions a lot, but with Michigan, Ohio State, it was the same type of feel. I mean, I love the way the last 2 seasons played out, but there's still I can't in my head just think they're going to roll them. I can't get there. I'm going to pick them to win this Saturday. I'm confident that Michigan will win. I already know that, but even after the last 2 years, it's not like 100% confidence type of thing just because of how it's been for so long. But I do think Michigan is the better team, and God, I can't, dude. I want Saturday to be here.
They went on Saturday. I'm going to come back to the crib here. I'm going to get liquored up, and I'm probably going to go live and just rant for like an hour straight by myself from the couch. So I hope you're all prepared for that.
Wow.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to celebrate. You wait all year for this to come, and you wonder how it's going to look. Are both teams going to be undefeated? Yada, yada, yada. And here they are, 11-0, once again, top 4 in the college football playoff rankings. Man, it would mean so much to get this W. With everything else that's going on, it would mean a lot, man.
Apologies. My skills wore out. Apparently, I butchered the last name this time.
What did you say, Pancato?
I said Pancato or Pencotto, which I thought, I tried to spice it up a little bit, throw a little gabagool on it and see if I could get it, but I don't know.
Apparently, it was. You say a name with this, you get it.
Yeah, a little bit of a little sauce on there.
Let's just stick to the Knicks and the Mikes.
Yeah. Like this one I can do. Jordan Johnson.
Perfect.
Feel strong about that.
Red-blooded American.
Wow. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Was that racist borderline?
Apparently, how did you say it, Chris? Apparently you were right.
Well,
that's what I said first. And then I was like, I whited that up so hard. I know it's not Pancato. There's no way.
Pancato, yeah. No,
that's what I said. That's what I said the first time.
Ever
I was
go against your instincts.
That can't be right. I wanted to put a little stank on it so that it felt better that way. Jeez, dude. I feel like there's a lot of Italian references every time. It's like whenever someone has an Italian name, I want to put their name up there just because.
Angelucci, Nick Angelucci. See?
Yeah, Rob Lucio. Yeah, see. I'm not even sure I can read that sentence.
Gotta use the Guinea grease.
Well,
gabagool next time, Brandon.
Hey.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not real sure either. But anyway, there we go. Let's see. Anthony Kujawa. That's Kujawa all day long. There's no way that's any different.
That's easy. Kujawa, that's easy. Let's just spend the next hour pronouncing last names here.
Brandon, what do you think my last name was?
Alex Jar. Jahar. No, Noop. Yeah, Noop. That's easy.
No, you didn't know it was Noop.
Trent's was a tough one. I didn't know if it was Noop or Canoop. But Canoop,
I would have said Noop because I don't have bad knees. I mean, I would have said Noop. It's Noop. I know that's Noop.
Well, a lot of people get mine wrong. They say Breeler.
Yeah, I've heard
some odd reason. It's a long I, Breiler, but
mine's pretty standard. Not a lot of messes with mine.
I mean, that's a safe one.
Yeah. Oh, did I really mess that up? It's pronounced Yar. Oh, or is that no? That's not even the right guy. That's not the right guy. Oh boy, this is what we're doing? We're doing name pronunciations for the final 8 minutes.
Kristen Palermo.
It's easy. That's all day. That's all day. Kevin Cohn.
I want to hear Chris say my last name again with no help from Brent. Okay, hold on. Shem Neuenschwander. That's right.
That's solid.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, when I can focus and lock in, I'm good to go.
Very, very solid. It might be time to just fade on out. I mean, not a lot. We've got hundreds of people asking us to read their names now.
How do you say my name? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. That's not Cooney. Get out of town. That is not Cooney.
No, now you're just trying to stir the pot a little bit. Kevin Cohn. We know the name.
Yeah, I know a cone when I see a cone, all right.
All right, it looks like we're done with the Ohio State questions.
I was gonna say people have had enough. People have had enough at this point.
I will say
questions to come. They're not coming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the Friday show, previewing the game. And again, if you're a Michigan fan, don't forget, this is the last year that it's going to be this way. It's the last year that this much is going to be at stake for this game and the long history of this rivalry. Try to soak up as much as you can this week. Enjoy every single minute of Saturday. Hopefully Michigan comes out with a W. But we will be back on Friday to give our score predictions and talk a little bit about how we think this whole thing is going to play out.
Gotta do that. Trent, what do you say for Friday?
Trent's back.
I think I'll be back Friday. Yeah,
Trent's back on Friday.
Yeah, count me in.
Louis Balake.
Lies.
Famous Key and Peele. You can't even take credit for that one, Louis. Come on, man. You got to give credit where it's due. Anyway,
Aaron in the house.
That's an hour and 20 minutes. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Pam Damaso. There's another one. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Enjoy it tomorrow. Freaking go Lions. Go Lions, dude. That's all I want to say about that.
9-2.
Take down the Packers.
How about a 9-2 potential record for the Lions?
I love it. I love it so much. Wear your Lions gear, eat turkey, be with your friends, watch some football, live the dream tomorrow, folks.
Drink and be merry.
There you go. We'll see you on Friday.